Okay, in this video I'm going to install Predbat into my new Home Assistant setup. I've already installed GiveTCP as in the previous video, and that's up and running. So, to install Predbat, first I'm going to pull up the Predbat documentation on GitHub. Hopefully it will come up quite easily. I've navigated to that the documentation. Here it gives you some introduction and some links as to how to get help. If you go to the installation summary, you can find the steps that we followed so far. You can also see how we might actually install Predbat, which is where we're at here. So we need to install it one of these methods. The add-on method is the simplest one, where it's installed in its own container in separate to the Home Assistant core, and it will talk to Home Assistant, and this kind of runs separately. You can also, for this add-on, you can run it in its own Docker container if you're using Docker, or you could indeed run it completely standalone on a PC or Mac if you know what you're doing. The other options, the previous one was the AppDaemon Predbat, which is where it uses AppDaemon to run Predbat, and that's also in an add-on. Or you could do the set daemon installation as well. So if you you follow the instructions here on how to do this installation as an add-on. So essentially it's going to send you to the repository here, and it's going to tell you how to download and install that, and then the fact that you need to edit apps.yaml afterwards. So I'm going to go across to my Home Assistant now, and I will start installing it. Okay, I'm just going to talk today about installing the Predbat add-on, which is the way to run Predbat within Home Assistant as an add-on. This isn't the tool itself, it's the wrapper around it. So you can see the documentation here for the Predbat add-on, and it gives you step-by-step instructions. The first step is to add this repository as a custom repository. So we have settings, add-ons, add-on stores, repositories. I add it on here, and it'll appear on the list. Then if I close, refresh the page, and then go down, and I can find Predbat, then I will install it. It takes a few minutes because it has to download it and also build the Docker container. Mine's a fairly fast machine, so it shouldn't take too long, but if you've got a slow machine, it may take a little bit longer. So now I've got that set to start on boot. The first thing I'm going to do then is start the Predbat, and that will actually get it to download the first version of it. So what it'll do is it'll download it from the latest version, copy the files across, and then start it, and you're going to get this error saying you have a template configuration. So that's good. So back to the settings in Home Assistant, I'm going to go to my add-ons, and I'm going to find the file editor here, and I'm going to make sure that it's configured such that the enforce base path is turned off, because you need this to be able to access the add-ons config area. So once that's done, if you change it, you may need to restart the file editor. I can now go to the file editor, and just to confirm where it's located now for the Predbat add-on, you go to add-on configs, Predbat, and you can see in here there is the log file, which is Predbat log. You may need to look at that. Predbat config JSON is your latest user configuration, so this is going to end up being the default, but it'll save it as you change things in Home Assistant. You shouldn't need to edit it, but it keeps track of that. Predbat dashboard will get created once you've fixed your template configuration. It runs correctly, and this you can use to add your dashboard. The apps.yaml is the main configuration, the one we need to edit. Cache has just got some cache things inside it, not particularly interesting. And then there's obviously the Python code. So if I open the apps.yaml, you'll notice it's got a template configuration here. So I need to delete the template as I configure it. The default is for Give TCP, which is the Give Energy inverter. But you can find other inverters. So if you look at the installation instructions, you can see a list of different inverters and a GitHub link to the integrations you need for them. But there's also the template configurations for each of them. So if I go into the repository in GitHub here, and I look under templates, I will find template configurations for different inverters like Solus, Huawei, SoFar, Solar Edge, Select SX4, SunSync, and also some Give Energy Cloud and their EMS in here. So if you're using a different inverter, click on the correct one, copy this into your configuration file and start editing from there. So I need to delete this template line. It shows it's actually been configured, and I need to go and set anything needs to change. If you've only got a single inverter, all of this will just work out of the box, so you don't really need to change it. One thing to notice here, this REST interface where it says home assistant.local, that should work if that's what your machine's called, but if it's called something different, you need to change that. And in my case, I'm going to change it to my IP address because this machine don't change the port number, because the port number is different for REST and for other things. I've only got a single inverter, so I need one. All of these are just going to work based on the template. My inverter limit is 3.6 kilowatts. I don't have any export limitations. My inverter actually, kind of when you turn off discharge, it leaks at about 200 watts. I'm going to turn that on. Some of them don't. My reserve max, it will actually go up to 100. Some inverters will error out if you try and set the reserve to 100, which is why that's defaulting to 98. I've got a battery power charge curve, so this really shows that it slows down charging when I get towards 100%. And this is kind of like, so between say 98 and 100%, I'm only charging at quarter rate. So this was calibrated for this particular inverter. You can change it for yours. The PV forecast today, that should line up with Solcast. I haven't installed Solcast yet, so this isn't going to quite work yet. That'll be the next thing that we'll need to add in. I've got one car, charging energy. This can pick up from Zappy or Wallbox by default, but you can change it to your own sensor. And I've not installed that, so that's not going to work at the moment. So I shall set cars to 0. So I don't have any cars set up, but if you set yours, then it can work. This car charging now you can use to, if your car doesn't, you can't plan it through Predbat just to say it is charging, and then it'll take care of the battery for you. You can also set your car battery size, the charge limit on the sensor, the car's SOC on a sensor, or you can pick it up from Intelligent Octopus. Here we're going to use the Octopus Energy add-in to pick up our energy rates. If you didn't have Octopus Energy, you want to comment these ones out and then use the manual rates here. So rates import and export, and you can set the times and the different rates. You can also override rates on individual days for saving sessions and such like. I'm going to use data from 7 days ago in my history is the default. As mine's a new system, I might say use 1, 2, and 3 days ago. If I could keep more data, I could maybe use 7, 14 days, for example. Then I think that's okay by default, so I'm going to save that file, and now in theory it will actually restart itself. So if I go back to the file editor, and I can actually have a look at the Predbat log as well. So let's go back into here, have a look at the log, and we can see something's running here. You might have to refresh the log file in a second, because this kind of will update every so often. So let's just try and refresh the log again, and we can see it's now starting to run.
This entity's been created. There's no PV data because I don't have Solcast in. This is it creating all the new entities in Home Assistant. And we get to the end and notice it is created Predbat dashboard.yaml. So what I can do now is in my file editor, if I go into the Home Assistant directory, I can find my Predbat dashboard.yaml and this YAML file here. If I just select it all, copy, now I'm going to go to here and I'm going to go edit dashboard. And I can add a card, I can do an entities card, I can show code editor, and I paste that directly into here and save. And that will give me all the Predbat entities that I've got currently. They're not in a great order and you may want to change it around, etc. For your own liking, but at least they're there. I can see expert mode is turned off. This tells me what version I've got. I've installed 35, there is a 36 available, so I can update at some point. I'm in monitor mode, which means it won't make any changes to my inverter, it will just predict what's going to happen without any changes. If I want to update to version 36, I can just select version 36 here, and if I wait a few, it will just update for me, and so that should happen. So when this sensor ticks over, we'll see that the updates happened. So all these sensors are up and running, and that's great. The other thing I can do is add some new charts in. So to get the charts, I look at the example chart, and I can see there's multiple charts in here. So you want to copy one at a time. So let's copy the battery prediction chart. So let's just highlight all the way down to the end of that. Copy, go to here, edit dashboard, add card. Now you have to make sure you installed the actual Apex charts card here. I'm not sure if it's actually on here. Let's have a look. Maybe not. Let me see if we need to install it. So that would be settings, devices and not devices and services. Sorry, settings, add-ons, add-ons store. No, sorry, this must be devices and services, integrations. No, I've got that wrong. It must be under hacks. Sorry about that. Apex charts card. There we are. Syntax. Apex charts is the one that we need. So that is already installed. Let's try again. So we can add it then. So we wanted the Apex charts card. No, it's not showing. I may have to reboot after I installed it. Maybe I didn't restart last time. Let's do a quick restart and see. Okay, so I found it now. We had to add the reference to the Apex charts card into the configuration YAML, as it mentions here. So if I copy that, go to my file editor, and I'm going to open Home Assistant configuration.yaml, and I shall paste that in there. Check the green tick is OK, put that onto there. Then go to Developer Tools, check configuration, integration resources not found, so I have a problem with that. So I need to go and fix that now before I save that. Let me just check what. So that does not work for me, so I've removed that from the configuration. It's saying here that I can do it another method by going to configuration, dashboards, resources, and add this URL. So let's try that then. So settings, dashboards, resources, add resource, JavaScript module. and then it says after that restart Home Assistant. So let's try that. So let's try system and then restart. Okay, so now we're actually ready to add the Apex chart, and I'm going to take the template for the factory chart from here, copy it, and I'm going to paste it into the Apex chart here, and I'm going to save it. And I can do the same for the other charts as well. My chart looks very flat because I'm in monitor mode and because I don't have any solar prediction, I don't have any load prediction, so everything's flat. I'm going to have to wait about 24 hours, and I'm going to have to install also my solar prediction Solcast, which I'm going to do that now actually. So I just searched up the Solcast add-in for Home Assistant, and then I'm going to have to do add I'm going to have to add that here. So the information says I'm going to do that in hacks. So I'm going to go into hacks, sorry, and I'm going to go repositories. And I'm going to go repository Solcast, and that is the integration, and I'm going to add it. Custom repository. Oh, so it's saying it already is in hacks. So if I search for Solcast, there we go, I didn't need to add it. And I'm going to download it. And then this is going to require us restart afterwards, as most of the hacks downloads do. So I'm going to restart the system now. Let's do a quick restart Home Assistant.
So one slight edit here. So the Solcast, the existing integration has actually been removed, but there's now a replacement for it, which is just a fork from it here. So I don't know if it's going to show up by default in hacks. If not, you'll probably have to add this Solcast address. The other thing you can do is have Predbat talk directly to Solcast by adding these lines to your apps.yaml, including your API key. Please note the API key in Solcast is not the same as the site ID. You have to go into your user settings and actually create an API key and copy it. It's like a string of about 16 letters and numbers. Keep in mind that Solcast only normally gives you 10 free polls a day, so this 8 hours is essentially 3 times a day, but if you have 2 sites, then that'll be 6 times a day. So just be careful with how often it's polled if you use that method, or if you use the Solcast integration method, then use the update automation as specified, and again be careful on the number of polls.
Okay, restarted. So now I should be able to find Solcast. Let me see if I can add it. Solcast, there we go. So I'm going to paste my API key into here and hit submit, and then that will configure up my Solcast. So just a reminder, you get the Solcast API key from the Solcast login and clicking on API. So now Solcast is up and running, and we've got my forecast coming up. The other thing you need to do is add an automation to update Solcast on a regular basis. So what you need to do now is go on to the automations section of Home Assistant, sorry, which is settings, automations, and you need to create an automation, create a new one, and then you're going to use some sort of time pattern that we need to use as a trigger. So I looked at time and location, time pattern, and we're going to run it, say, every 8 hours. For example, you only get 10 API calls a day, so you don't want to do it too often. And then the action is going to do something on a service, essentially. This is all changed around on the latest one. but Solcast API update, and so this is going to happen, and this is going to be called Solcast update. It's going to happen every 8 hours, and then let's run it now so that we get some up-to-date data. And so that should be Solcast up and running. So this data will hopefully come through into to Predbat soon. Let's go and have a look at the log file and see what it's doing. Let's go to the file editor and go back to our add-on configs, and let's have a look at the log, and we'll see what's happening here. So we should, this last ran a couple of minutes ago. That was after the last reboot, so we're going to need another run now to actually get the updated information. So one way of getting it to run is just to twiddle the settings slightly. Let's put it back again. That should cause the new run, and that should cause it to update. So actually, as the new Solcast entities appeared, I actually need to restart it actually. So I need to go to the add-ons, and I need to find Team Predbat to restart, because it's not going to pick up new entities without a clean restart. So hopefully that'll be successfully restarted. And when I open the log, you can see matched PV forecast today with sensor, so they've actually matched up now. So that's good. And then hopefully we'll actually get a run through in a second. I'm just reloading this log file again. It's a bit painful in here to reload it each time. But yeah, you can see some PV data coming through here in the prediction. You can see the PV forecast. So that's improved things somewhat. And now we've got something going up, and that's because we've got no load data. So we're going to have to wait now till tomorrow to get some load data. So that's the end of today's video. I'll show another one once this is up and running tomorrow. Thanks.